What up, what up, what up? It's your man Marquivas Nias, and this is another Retro Rewind. And today we're going to talk about how F-Zero changed racing games forever. Before Mario Kart ruled living rooms, before futuristic racers became mainstream, there was F-Zero. A game so fast, so technically advanced, that in 1990 it looked like it came from another planet. Over 20 years later, FZeroGX on the Nintendo GameCube still feels futuristic. But here's the real question. How did one of Nintendo's most groundbreaking franchises completely disappear? Today on Retro Rewind, we're going from the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64, all the way to the legendary GameCube era to talk about why F-Zero changed gaming forever and why fans are still waiting for Nintendo to bring it back. When F-Zero launched on the Super Nintendo in 1990 in Japan and 1991 in North America, people have never seen anything like it. The SNES was pushing something called Mode 7 graphics. Now, obviously, the game wasn't literally 3D, but Nintendo used scaling and rotation techniques to create the illusion of a massive futuristic world moving beneath your vehicle at insane speeds. Back then, this felt revolutionary. The tracks twisted, the speed felt dangerous, the soundtrack sounded futuristic, and the world of Captain Falcon immediately stood from anything else Nintendo had made. You gotta remember, this was before cinematic racing games became common. F-Zero helped introduce players to high-speed anti-gravity racing, futuristic world building, risk versus reward gameplay, aggressive AI competitors, precision racing over party mechanics, and believe me, when I tell you, those AI racers were hard as hell to beat. This wasn't Mario Kart chaos, this was skill. And honestly, you could trace parts of modern arcade racers, extreme speed games, and even some sci-fi aesthetics back to what F-Zero was doing on the NES. We're talking about games like Wipeout, Extreme G, Fast RMX. They all carry DNA from F-Zero. Then Nintendo dropped FZeroGX on Nintendo 64, and this game was insane. While other N64 games were struggling with frame rates, FZeroGX ran at 60 frames per second, and in the late 90s, that was almost unheard of. Nintendo sacrificed some visual details for pure speed and responsiveness. And honestly, that decision aged gracefully, because FZeroGX feels good even today. The controls are tight, and the physics made every race feel dangerous. Plus, this game introduced 30 racers at once, vehicle destruction, dynamic track design, heavy metal soundtrack energy, crazy loop structures. This was Nintendo showing they could make hardware experiences when they wanted to. And let's be real, Captain Falcon became an icon partly because Super Smash Bros., but this cool factor started here. Show me your moves. Then came the masterpiece, FZeroGX on Nintendo GameCube. And to this day, I honestly believe this is one of the greatest arcade racers ever made. Not for Nintendo, not for its time, ever. The speed feels absurd, the graphics still look clean, the sense of motion is incredible, and difficulty, brutal. This game respected the player. It expected skill, reaction time, precision, and visually, the GameCube hardware was being pushed hard. The lightning, the track design, the futuristic cities, the sense of velocity, some of those tracks still look more exciting than modern game racers. And what's crazy is, Nintendo worked with Sega on this game. Yeah, former rivals. The developers behind Super Monkey Ball helped create FZeroGX. The arcade DNA is why the game feels intense. GX wasn't trying to be casual, it was trying to push you to your limit. And honestly, that may be part of why Nintendo moved away from it. This is the question fans have asked for years. Why hasn't Nintendo made another F-Zero game? There are a few reasons. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe became one of the best-selling games ever. Nintendo likely sees Mario Karts as a safer investment. Party-friendly, mass appeal, easy to pick up, F-Zero was the opposite. It's hardcore. Nintendo has publicly hinted they don't want to revisit F-Zero unless they can innovate. But fans argue, the speed itself is the innovation, especially in an era where many games feel overly safe. Let's be honest, FZeroGX is hard. Modern Nintendo leans heavily towards accessibility and broad audience. GX demanded mastery, and while hardcore fans love that, it may scare casual players. The irony is, F-Zero was ahead of its time. Now the industry finally has the hardware to fully realize its vision. Massive online play, dynamic futuristic cities, VR possibilities, massive speeds at stable frame rates, competitor esports style racing, but Nintendo hasn't pulled the trigger. What makes F-Zero special isn't just nostalgia, it's identity. The franchise has style, atmosphere, confidence. It represented a version of Nintendo willing to experiment, willing to be edgy, willing to make games that push players technically. You still feel that energy when you boot up FZeroGX today. That's why people still talk about it, why retro gamers still revisit it. And that's why every Nintendo Direct, somebody's still hoping to hear those words, new F-Zero announced. So let me ask you, which version of F-Zero was your favorite? The revolutionary SNES original, the chaotic speed of FZeroGX, or the timeless masterpiece that was FZeroGX? And do you think Nintendo should finally bring the franchise back? Drop your memories in the comments. And if you're enjoying Retro Rewind here on the Nias Media channel, make sure you like, subscribe, and share with another retro gamer who still remembers when Nintendo wasn't afraid to go fast.